Hello and welcome to the Blackout podcast, where you get to talk to amazing people who do amazing things. And today I'm so happy, super excited, because we've been trying to make this happen for a couple of weeks now. And I think one of the funniest was I was actually recording on the day you were having the market. But I'm happy to have you, my friend, founder of Supernova Events, Jacquelyn Miccolis. Thanks for coming to the podcast today.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, how did you get into events?
Well, that is a great question. Events are a great way of bringing people together, and I'm really love community and community building. So I guess just seemed like a great outlet, a great way to bring all walks of life together, especially with community events, because you literally get people, from all over. We get a lot of tourists, we get locals, just people, different age demographics, races, genders, sexualities, everything coming together in sort of a unity, in a beautiful way to bond over shared art or experiences. And yeah, it's something I really enjoy.
What was the very first one that you did?
The very first one, well, I started off with a physical location, on Argyle Street. I had a studio for 3.5 years, and we did workshops. And then
what was the studio called?
Sparkles and Sawdust Studio.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we held workshops. So that's sort of where it began, was like small, intimate workshops where people came together, learned a skill, whether it be painting, or we did literally everything. We did herbalism, we did nature walks, we did everything under the moon and the stars. And then we had to kind of navigate to do a lot of online classes because the pandemic. Yeah. And then rode that way for 3.5 years and decided need a little breather, so shut the doors, and now I'm doing more large community events. So it sort of, I guess, was a natural progression to small events to bigger events. I kind of worked my way through the industry, I guess.
Let's go back to Sparkle and Sawdust. Why did you start that? What's the story behind the name? And how would you pick the workshops that you'd have there?
Sure. So the name, it was a venture that my husband and I started. So I was doing jewelry design, the Sparkle. He's a woodworker, Sawdust, right. Sparkles and Sawdust. What made us start it was we've always loved art and creativity. So we saw kind of a gap in the industry. There was a ton of art classes and facilities for children and youth, but a lot of people associate it with a childlike thing. We believe that creativity is for everyone and that adults kind of lose that part of themselves. We wanted to bring that back out. So it was sort of a new concept, although I think of some other places have since opened, which is exciting. And how we chose the workshops, that's a great question. So I tried to keep up with trends, but also try to stay ahead of the trend, because if you kind of get on it when it's just really trending, it's a short-lived thing. So I would look at other cities, countries, and always try to plan like 6 months in ahead, and I'd always be ahead of, so our classes just always pretty much sold out, which was great because I was always like on top of these things, always like ahead. Everyone else was teaching something. I'm already like the next thing. So that was a challenge, but I got quite good at it. A lot of research and just kind of being in tune with our customers and our clients. We had a lot of repeats, so getting to know what they like and the demographic. That shifted though. We had university students primarily as our client base. Then the pandemic hit and they all moved back home with mom and dad, and we knew it wasn't going to be sustainable with that demographic. So we quickly shifted the type of workshops we offered. Like immediately I saw a huge change. We had 50 plus mostly people attending, like people seniors or people, middle-aged, or, people that were like, had their roots here. Generally speaking, they don't like the same types of things as university students. So we quickly shifted the type of classes. I hired a bunch of new instructors, did like a full and it was funny because I thought it was going to take months to see that kind of shift in client base. It was immediate, almost immediate.
Well, the pandemic was a very interesting time. So how was that, I guess, pivot for you?
That was the craziest time of my life. It was insane because it was like everything you knew, you thought you were prepared for went out the window. And having an event-based business in a time where they're saying, stay home, don't be around other people. And we're saying, come together, let's, like it was difficult. We went from like huge workshops to, we could only have 4 people most of the time because of the size of the space. So that was a challenge. And then doing, during the lockdowns, online classes, which was interesting because we had people from all over the world who I never would have, had attend. People in Australia find my workshops and attend.
Shit.
So it was kind of interesting to have such a diverse group. I was expecting it was just going to be locals. 99% of the people who attended my online classes were in the States or in Europe or like, I don't know why. We attracted like this beautiful range. And then obviously once the pandemic, I wouldn't say ended because it never really, I guess, officially but
it's like when people could start doing kind of things.
Yeah, exactly. When we all decided we weren't going to die and there wasn't like a shortage of toilet paper, we could all come together again. Right. And like we weren't able to it wasn't sustainable to do the online classes forever. So we lost sort of that part of our client base. And we kind of tried to stick with more local. It was a whirlwind. It was like a yo-yo, up and down, a roller coaster, constant cancellations, restrictions, having to like, okay, reschedule. I felt like I was a master of rescheduling. Everything was being rescheduled, like canceled, navigating this, like it was.
But in one way though, especially when it started, Nova Scotia was one of the safest places on earth.
Yes.
So we kind of had that for a while.
Yes, we were in like this little bubble, except I feel like we were the scaredest. Like everybody was so scared. No one wanted to go anywhere, That
was what kept us like safe. So Supernova Events, what's the story there?
So once I closed the studio, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do next. I knew I wanted to keep that community alive. I had this I call them my people, like some of the locals that are just like consistently showing up for me, and that I really bonded with a lot of people, and I really wanted to stay connected. So I took a little bit of time off to kind of pivot and decided, okay, I really love hosting these events, but I want to do it on a larger scale now that we can, because it was never my intention to do small workshops. It's sort of what happened because that's what we could do. So I just launched Supernova Events and started doing bigger events.
The story behind the name?
We held a Supernova Market during the pandemic. I think we were the only large like crafter artisan event that actually managed to run during the pandemic. All the other markets in the city closed down and said, oh, we're not going to do it. Like it's too risky. We don't have the funding. I was like, I'll pay out of pocket. I'm making this happen. There's too many people that need to sell their stuff, don't have anywhere to sell it, and I'm going to do it. So I hired security. We had a hand washing station. We had to write every single person's name who came into it. We decided we'll take the event outside instead of inside. We'll put roping around so we can keep track of how many people come in. It was absolutely insane. We had to measure the spaces between each vendor. It was nuts, and we made it work. And it was the most beautiful experience because everyone had been indoors, nowhere to sell their stuff, had an abundance of creativity to put out there, and people showed up. It was like the best. Everybody showed up, had a beautiful time, and it was that feeling I wanted to keep alive, that sense of community, that sense of like togetherness. I mean, I feel like Halifax really preached that, like, oh, we're all in this together, but there was this sense of separation that it was more like I wanted to practice what was being preached. So
what was the thing? I think together but apart or something.
Something like that.
Yeah, there was like a phrase that we used that anyway.
I felt like it was a bit performative, like it was like something people said, but it didn't really feel authentic. It wasn't I didn't see it happening. So I was like, okay, how can we actually put these wheels into motion so that this, this idealized thing is actually reality? Because I've noticed that a lot in business or just in the world in general. There's a lot of phrases that businesses will use, or just anybody. This is like our mission, our values, but then when it actually comes down to it, there's a disconnect.
We just want to make money.
Yeah, I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I'm very much like, this is what I believe deep down to my core. These are my values, my mission. That's going to be embedded in every like inch of my existence, of my being, whether that's my business or in my personal life. Like it's kind of like I don't know, like I like to think of it as like a weaved or like a quilt or something. Like it's embedded in every aspect. I guess it's the creative part of me.
So with like, okay, you had that one. Now, nobody cares. Life is back to normal and
Yeah.
stuff. The last market, what was the process of making that one happen?
Sure. So we've moved locations last year, I think it was, or maybe it was the year before. The days become a blur now with the pandemic and the shift to the waterfront. And that's a really beautiful space because we're right at the water during tourist season. So you're getting the cruise ships coming in and the locals. Now, during the pandemic, we had just pretty much locals attending, but we saw a huge shift in the type of people who were showing up because like you get that, tourist attraction versus just local. So that was kind of nice. We did it on Canada Day weekend. So that was really nice. We had live music, something I had planned on doing the year prior to that, but it just wasn't possible with the pandemic. They didn't want anyone speaking moistly. So singing, wasn't really encouraged. So we had live music and that was amazing. We had a dance group coordinated with the singer. So they did like a choreography. I always say that wrong. Choreographed dance, and that was amazing. A seated audience, which was really nice. And yeah, just crafters, all kinds of crafters, emerging artists, a more established artist. We had 2 different sections. And that's why I like to give opportunity to people who maybe wouldn't necessarily get into other markets because they don't have that experience.
Yeah, you kind of touched that, but I was just going to ask, how do you decide who the people, that come to exhibit and sell their stuff in the market?
That's a great question. So I have a couple of other artists that help me out. I guess you could say they're sort of friends or like acquaintances, and we have like a little tiny team and we get together. We've been getting hundreds of applicants in the last couple of years, so that takes days to go through them. The biggest thing is diversity. I don't like the idea of having a market where everyone's selling the same thing, because that creates a really competitive environment. And I've probably either worked at or sold at every market or crafter fair event in this entire city, and I've seen the ugly side of it. I know what I don't like as someone who sells, and I know what I don't like as someone who runs events. So I try to kind of navigate, all right, what's the ultimate experience we can create for someone on both sides, whether it be the customer or the artisan, because it doesn't need to be a cutthroat experience. It doesn't need to be competitive, and you get rid of that competitivity, or however you want to say it, almost immediately when you don't have someone selling the same products as you. That's just like, to me, it's a no-brainer. It takes a lot more effort because you're going to get like 50 people applying, let's say, to sell candles, or 20 people selling who want to sell jewelry. So it's sort of a process of, all right, who's got the best skills, but then also who do we want to give a chance to? Like, we want diversity. It's a really like struggle of kind of navigating, like, okay, we've had them come before, should we have them back? Like, it's like, we do like, I call it a jury now.
I do not envy you.
yeah. It's a process, let's just say. It's a process.
Like, whatever happens, you're going to have to disappoint some people.
Yes. It's true, and I do
but
feel
you
that.
Also make a lot of people smile, so
it's true, and I do try to, like, if we don't let them in this year, see if they've improved. Like, I keep up with their stuff, and I'm like, okay, again, the person has actively made, gains. They've got more logo, they've got more online presence, and then I'll welcome them the next year. We have a lot of the people just apply every single year consistently, and I'm like, God love them. Like, that's so sweet that they really want to participate in this event. Like, we had a lady who, I think she's applied for the last 5 years, and this was the first year I accepted her, and she was so excited. Yeah. And it was just really cute. I was like, she is so persistent.
Yes,
yes. But, like, it was kind of heartwarming because I was like, I love that. Like, I love that she believed in the event so much that she didn't give up. And, like, that's something to be said for that.
No, that's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, so you've done all these things, and one thing that comes out every time is community. Why is that important to you?
That's a great question. And I think it's because when I was younger, I was always trying to find my place. I think a lot of us do, especially when we're like teenagers or adolescents. I sort of felt like a little bit of a misfit, I guess. I'm an identical twin, so I stood out to begin with. There's 2 of me. So I always sort of felt like a fish out of water. Like, I stood out, and I always felt like I wanted to find my place where I belonged. And then as I got older, I started to find, I guess, my people, as I call it, artsy types, people who are, think outside the box, maybe kind of march to the beat of their own drum a little bit, and I just love that feeling. I love being a part of something. I worked at the Seaport Market for several years, and I felt so much joy in that community, that togetherness, and I just wanted to like spread that joy for other people to experience it. And I sort of like, it's like I wanted to take it, put it in a little bottle, and like capture it and keep it there. No, I just wanted to like spread it, though, more so. I just wanted that feeling not to go away. And then once I left the Seaport Market to launch my own business, I wanted to capture that sort of that feeling, that joy and that togetherness in, I guess it's sort of how it came out in like in events.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, you do bring people together. Okay. I love asking guests this last question because a friend asked, and I'm like, that, and the question is, what's something that happened before you were 17 that's kind of responsible for the person you are today?
I gave this question a lot of thought because you told me this was something I thought, and it was actually a really challenging question to answer. And it might sound corny, but for me, my turning point, I think, where I kind of figured out what I wanted to do with my life was probably in junior high. There was a poem, you're probably familiar with it. It's by Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken, I think. Yeah, and like for me, that was like, that poem for some reason really stuck with me because I always thought that I had to like have this like very set path. Like, you get out of high school, you go to university, you get the job, the white picket fence, the minivan, you know what I mean? And I always felt a little like, I don't know if that's for me. Like, I don't think I'm like that straight path kind of person. And so that sort of, I think, kind of stirred something up in me in life. And I just decided, you know what? I'm gonna kind of pave my own path. I'm going to blaze my own trail, or however you want to say it. And I think that was sort of a turning point where I realized, not everything has to be, this picture perfect. And I mean, let's be honest, nobody has that picture perfect, idealized life anyways, right? But I think it was just that kind of acknowledgement of allowing myself to take those paths that maybe were less paved and being okay with whatever happens, So whether that be like, just whatever brings me joy. I tried a lot of different industries, sort of, dabbled in them, just to try to find where I belonged. And I guess that's how I got here somehow. I don't know what, I couldn't write that path in a line for you because it's kind of a zigzag or a swirl, but here we are.
You bring so much magic with all the things you do, and I was like, okay, I need to send you out with magic. So here you go. I need you to write. No, you can't show me though, so you want to hide it from me.
So it's secretive.
Yeah. You want to choose a number between 1 and 60.
Okay.
And once you're done, point it to the camera.
Okay.
And I'll try and find what your number is.
Cool. Okay. I like this. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sheldon, did you get it?
Do I show?
Yeah. Yeah, you can. Okay. So the number can be it's going to be in at least one of these cards, but it can be more than one of these cards. Okay. Is it here? The number you've chosen. It's here. Okay. No, that's not good. Is it here?
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Good.
Yes and yes.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So it's here and here and here and here and here.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm making it difficult?
Yeah. Yeah.
But easier.
I think I have it. 31.
Oh my gosh, you are magic. I love it.
Jacquelyn, thank you so much for coming to the podcast today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.